Hey, welcome to a new week of the GenX guys. We're back after
We are.
an episode off,
Wait,
I
who's
guess.
we? Who are we?
Well, we are both off because you were gone.
No, who are we? I'm just saying. I cut you off before you could say our names.
You know what? It's fine. It's fine. In
You
case
have
people,
JD as
in case we
always.
have a bunch of new
Len.
listeners. Yeah,
Fuck, forget it. You know what? We don't. But
we
whatever.
might.
JD and
Might.
Len and JD. I should say my name first. No, I said,
Yeah.
but you first. Or you do.
Jesus
Forget it.
Christ.
Should we start over again?
No, you're gonna start
I look like an
introducing
idiot.
people going forward. You're gonna introduce us next week's episode. We've tried that.
Jackass and Robin.
Sure. Yeah. If you want to be Jackass, that's fine. I can be Robin.
Oh yeah. Wait, what?
Exactly. So anyway, yes, welcome
Anyway,
back. And for anybody who's new to listening, thank you.
thank you.
And as always, subscribe.
And if
share.
you're not, thank you as well. No, you should thank everybody, no matter what.
Okay.
If you're new,
Thank you for
you're
those
here
not listening right now
forever.
as well, because we truly
No,
appreciate
fuck you
your.
guys. If you're not
Wow.
listening, fuck you. You're
You
dead to
just
us.
said thank everybody, and now you've. So
No,
Len has
who's
split
listening?
personality
No.
issues. In case people have not realized
That's
by now.
true. I am slightly bipolar, but that's not the point.
Chosen
Point is
bipolar.
that the point is, I think everybody who's actually listening, that should be everybody, whether you're new or existing. If you're not listening,
Sure.
fuck you. You're dead to us.
Wow. Okay.
Even our family, because they don't even listen.
It is disappointing that our family doesn't.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because
we are disappointed in them. We always have been.
Yeah, we are. And if any one of them are listening, you can prove you listened by telling me that you heard I was disappointed in you. So, we'll see.
The secret number is 82.
Sure. Yeah.
Whatever.
For you. That's fair. Yeah. If you want your family to do that, that works for me too.
No, my family never will. So that's not,
Oh,
not even something I would even worry about.
Nice.
So how was your week? I was in New York, for those who might care or
Yeah. So why
wanna
don't you
know that.
explain why? What were you doing out in New York that was so critical that you had to skip this ever popular podcast that we work on weekly?
So my mother and father-in-law live with us, and my mother-in-law's memory, she's 85 years old, so as understandable, is starting to kind of slip. So but we are going, Josephine and I are going to Korea on Wednesday, but we kind of have brought up that.
Oh, wait, so you're gone
we're
again. That's right. So we won't have a show next week either, people, for
Or
2
the week
weeks,
after.
probably.
Yeah, for 2
You
weeks.
know, I'm just going to do individuals. Pretty much this is going to
You
be the
should.
Gen X guy show going forward with JD.
Because
And Len's my
everybody
special
leave-
guest
because-
this week. So
If
here we
everybody
go.
leaves, yeah. Actually, you could, just do ramblings
plan
of
to. Plan to.
an old white guy.
It's not ramblings.
Anyway,
By the way,
So,
a million-year-old skull was found. Changes the dynamics of when we first arrived on this planet. Go ahead.
what about the whole thing about Mars?
Let's just go on. Anyway, your story. Let's not sidetrack. We're
Anyway,
sidetracking.
So when we bring up the fact that we're going, she'll bring up, oh, why am I not going with you guys? Because we've taken them on a lot of vacations and everything. And again, at her age and everything like that, we want to try to do it while we still can. Obviously,
Sure.
because, but she had found out maybe 2 weeks ago at the most that one of her oldest friends from the Philippines, so like one that she went to college with, was moving out of New York, actually moving to Virginia, but she was moving out of New York City, Queens area. So she gets in her head that she wants to go visit her before she moves to Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to go visit her in New York. So once that started happening, we kind of committed that we were going to take her and my father-in-law to New York City. So this weekend we flew out late Friday night, got to New York early Saturday morning, and were there until Tuesday evening. In Queens, we actually stayed at a casino right outside of JFK. I think it's called like New World Resort or something like that. But it's an actual casino right outside. It was an old racetrack, horse racetrack, that they ended up adding a casino onto. So there must have been something in terms of legislation where they realized that they can put an actual casino on those grounds. It was actually a pretty big, pretty nice casino. It was actually pretty cool.
And you said you were
but
where?
We stayed there. It was right outside of JFK.
Oh, okay.
Like
I
it's
think New York
literally
changed their gambling guidelines, if I remember correctly, in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think it's 10 years old. But yeah, so it's like I said, it was at a racetrack, an old racetrack that it looks like it's still open, but yeah, they ended up doing that and having a full-on casino there. So we stayed there. It's funny, my and when you get to people who are that age, they kind of do the thing like, oh no, make sure you stay with us. Stay with me, even though she's moving out, she doesn't have anything in her townhouse anymore. Stay with us, stay with me, not us. It's just her. Stay with her, and then my mother-in-law's, oh yeah, we'll just stay with her. It's no big deal. The first night that we get there, like she has like very little in the house, and it was just one of those things where the next morning you could tell that they didn't get a lot of sleep and they weren't very comfortable. So yeah, at that day we ended up checking them into our hotel. So it was an adventure with them, like it always is. We went and had a, a really cool place. It was called Lenny's Crab Feed or Crab Shack.
Oh, that wasn't biased.
Old school. Yeah, well, actually, it wasn't even my intention. It was actually her mom's friend who um, recommended it, not even realizing that my nickname is Lenny. So it was kind of funny that it came out that way. But it was cool. It was an old school, you know, Queens family Italian restaurant. Um, I had the baby cow, which was excellent.
Baby cow.
Joe, yeah, Joe had the seafood linguine, which knew she
Did
would
they
get.
bring a baby cow to you? You got to eat that little fucker right there.
And then you had to pick out what part of it you want them to cut off of it.
Yeah.
It was great though. But no, it was really cool. And then we did some other things like after we dropped them off, and then we went to Manhattan for a bit, and then the next day we ended up taking my mother-in-law later on Sunday to Cat's Deli, just for that experience. But yeah, it was actually a pretty cool thing. And I actually worked out of our Hoboken office in New Jersey on Monday. So that was kind of cool.
There you
It's a
go.
really nice campus. It's right off the water. Like you can see Manhattan. You're right. Did you ever go to Hoboken?
No.
Yeah.
Was there even space there? Because that was the biggest complaint was the lack of seating for everybody.
They are still doing hotel seating, but they have a group A and group B. Group A goes in one day and then they alternate with group B. So what's funny is like they would say like group A goes on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Tuesday, Thursday. So they alternate. But we were making fun of because our group was group B. And we're like, ooh, you guys are group B. You guys are like second class. So we were making fun of them about that. But yeah, no, there was space. There wasn't more than enough space again because they were splitting up the office. But supposedly they're opening up 2 more floors in that building. So
Nice.
but it's actually really cool. Like I said, you have it's right on the waterfront in Hoboken. It's right by what the hell is the name of Pace? I think it's called. Whatever. There's a train that goes between Manhattan and New Jersey.
No, okay.
One little word. I can't remember what it's. I think it's like Pace or something like that. But anyway, it's right by this station right there. So it's like within a 5-minute walking distance from it, and right on the water.
Oh, nice.
It's actually really nice.
Oh,
I
think I know that location too because when I used to go out to Jersey as part of Caesar Sportsbook, we were right by the water where there were some train stations to head into New York from there.
Yeah, it's right there. So like right when you come off the train, you just walk over, no like bus or transit needed. It's a 5 to 10 minute walk.
Nice.
Again, it was right on the water. It was nice because it's like you could just go for a walk outside if you wanted to.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. It was actually fun. It was a fun little trip, but
Weather was good.
The weather was excellent. Like I was out until like 1:00 in the morning, just walking around aimlessly, and yeah, it was like 7 degrees at night. It was not humid at all. It was actually really comfortable. It actually didn't get humid until the day we were leaving. Like you could actually feel that it was going to start raining on Tuesday. But other than that, no, the weather was perfect. Like it was that perfect fall, East Coast weather. Like the right in between, right when it stops. It's still warm, but it's not humid.
What the hell are you walking around at 1 a.m. in the morning?
I love to wander. I just like walking around.
Did you even sleep?
Oh, I sleep. Yeah. But yeah, it was like 1:00 in the morning when I ended up taking the train back to Queens.
What are you looking for when you're wandering?
Nothing. I just
want to
seeing
get out and just slow walk and just see where you can go.
Mm-hmm. It's actually very common for me. It's funny.
I agree. That's why I'm curious. Why
one of the things I was talking to my son Ben, he is actually doing a solo trip to Japan. The same day that he's going to be there, he's going to be in Japan the same time we're in Korea. It ended up working out that way. He's
Nice.
leaving actually on Monday. It originally was going to be for him and his ex-fiance, but I kind of insisted. I said, I think you should do a solo trip.
Yeah.
I think you should just go there and do it on your own and just experience it. And one of the things I was talking to him about was one of the advantages about going solo. And actually, it's one of the things that is even great about like when my wife and I go, because she'll go someplace and where I'll be done with this location, like this historical, like a castle or whatever.
Bathhouse.
And
Yeah, got it.
yeah, pretty much. And in like an hour and a half or so, she can be there for 4 or 5 hours. But we don't do the thing like, well, if I'm there, you have to be there with me. She's just like, bye. So a lot of times, but what I told him was, I said, one of the things about going solo is you could just walk down areas for no reason. You don't have to, you could just kind of look down and go down a side alley. And that's like one of the really cool things about like most Asian countries is they have these side alleys that you're not going to get killed in. Well, some countries, yeah, but like in Japan or Korea, it's like, you know, you can go down these side alleys and see some cool things and just, you know, just kind of see what it has. And it doesn't have to be anything special. It could just be something that you walk down. Like, so we're on a map, I might say, like one of the places when he's stopping over in Korea, his first 2 nights, he's actually leaving like an hour after we arrive. So, but one of the nights that he's there, because he's actually taking an exam while he's out there.
Oh, okay.
He's actually taking, because he's taking exams to be an actuary. And it ended up finding out that one of the times that he would actually be in Korea when one of the exams was happening. So he's actually going to take it in Korea. It's not going to be in Korean. It'll be in English, but still. Or else I think you might have a hard time with that.
And what's an actuary again, for those who don't know?
They are like for insurance companies, financial institutions for like risk management. You know, they basically say like, you know, for premiums, they're the ones that set the rates for premiums based on, you know, millions of different things. But it's like a lot of it is risk management, risk aversion, a lot of that type of stuff. Using his statistics background, math.
Yeah.
So it's heavy. Like there's one field is like heavy into the math part, and that's the one he wants to get into.
Nice.
But yeah, like I told him the night before, he wasn't going to do anything. Obviously, the night before an exam, you know, he wants to get good rest. But I told him like for where he's staying, it's about a 20+ minute walk to go to the Han River, which one of the things I really like about Korea over like other areas is they're really big into picnics. So like the Han River, there's a bridge, this like a rainbow bridge where it has this water show with lights and everything at night during the summer and into the fall. But I said like you can go there, go to one of the convenience stores on the Han River. You can get the ramen, make it there. You can have a picnic out there, just kind of relaxing yourself, walk around, see the light show. There's a lot of people. There's just a lot of things to walk around and see. And then you can walk back. But I told him, like, you know, this 20-minute walk, I said, give yourself an hour because you can go into stores. Instead of just taking the direct route, you could take like a winding side route. And that's what I always do. So even though it's a 20-minute walk, I would say that, like for me personally, it would be an hour for me. But mainly it's because I made it twice the distance that it needs to be. But that's just how I like doing things. But for me, it's really just exploring. It's really just seeing the different things out there that they have. Like, I think a big part of it is, I mean, I've always lived in a suburb. You know, I mean, I did work in San Francisco.
Yeah, maybe let's be honest, dude. Okay, suburb for you was literally on the cusp of a city.
Yeah, but it's
not like traditional suburbs. Like if you go up to Petaluma, is a suburb.
No. I agree. But what I mean,
I just want to restate, like you were much closer to a city, multiple cities in fact.
So. But 99% of my hours was spent in a suburb type setting. Is what
in a mall. What are you talking about? In a mall and a gym. That's what you spent most of your time.
Right, which is in a suburb. No, you're right. 100%.
Daly City is a city. It's called a city.
No,
literally a city.
Dude, when I mean a city, I mean like Sanford, like downtown SF, or New York
being
City.
In the Sunset District or the Richmond District is not being in the city. That's a suburb.
I would still, I think for what I'm talking about and what yes.
So you want to be surrounded by massive skyscrapers is basically what you're talking about.
And a lot of people, a lot of activity, a lot of different things.
Okay.
Like being in an area where if you go down one block, you're going to see 5 different restaurants. You're going to see 7 or 8 different random stores. You're going to see, like I said, you're going to see some tall buildings, some short buildings. You're going to see, it's the randomness that I get.
Yeah, and if you're in the U.S., homeless encampments,
well, yeah,
druggies,
of course.
addicts,
That's just part of
all
it.
the ambiance that
the
you want in a
random
major
woof
city.
of urine,
Downtown
which
cities,
happens quite a bit.
that's the ambiance you're looking for.
That is the ambiance. So yeah, that's what I mean. But I mean, what I mean by a suburb, I really mean more the setting that it's in, not so much the technical definition of it. Like,
well, yeah, you've talked about
where we grew up.
You'd love to, like, if you moved to Korea, you'd be living in the hub of the city, like probably like in a condo and an apartment or something like that.
Oh, 100%. I mean, even there's always, every time I go to New York, it's like, there's always a meme of like 5 minutes into being in a new place, or like, I could see myself living here. The thing is, out of all the places I visit in the U.S., honestly, I think New York is the only place I'd want to live outside of San Francisco, outside of the Bay Area. I mean, I think I would.
How many cities have you literally been a part of that you can remember within the last 10 years? Other than New York and San Francisco. Maybe San Jose. But outside of that.
Like Chicago, Seattle. Seattle wouldn't be a bad one.
I mention it because it's kind of, we talk about it because you just made that point earlier. Sometimes you show up to a place, you're like, oh, I could see myself here. So you get skewed towards that one direction, and you don't think that there's other opportunities elsewhere. So
I think what it is more the overall feel. Like, I think I want something almost polar opposite. And I'm not saying like it's ideal or perfect or whatever. I think realistically, if I were to move out of California because of the taxes and just the state of the state, most likely it'd be probably either to you or, like I said, maybe Seattle. I mean, realistically, just thinking about the overall aspect of it. Like, for New York, the hard sell is, let's say it's just my wife and I would have a really hard time in July and August. With that heat and humidity would just wreck me. And then my wife in January, February, where it's ice cold, she would have an issue with that. So even though I don't see us moving to New York, but it's the one place, if I can just, like a lottery dream, right? Like, if I can have like 2 homes type thing, I think New York would definitely be one of them. And again, I know there's a fantasy to it, but I think that's part of the reason why I want to do it, is because of the fantasy.
No, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, we're talking on a podcast, for God's sake. We're just talking about things in general.
We're just bullshit.
But that being said, do you consider yourself an extrovert or introvert?
Oh, 100% introvert.
Really? But you want to live in the middle of a city with thousands of people wandering around you. That actually goes against the introvert mentality right there.
It doesn't. It actually doesn't. Because
I'm an introvert, and you know where I want to live? A fucking island.
Yeah. See, the thing is, though, I think one of the advantages of being in a place like New York, and maybe that's the reason why I'm drawn to it, it's very easy to be anonymous. It's very easy to just fall into the background. And I think that's
true in most places, except for small town USA, where it's like 1,000 people. You pretty much know everybody.
Well, no, I mean, I think it's just it's easier. I think I feel even more comfortable in a setting where
you're a closet extrovert.
Like that.
Stop it.
Oh yeah, because I'm an extrovert. That's what I'm an
extrovert.
Yeah,
that's how I'm going to put it.
That's how you're going to put it.
I'm sure there's something in between, to be honest with you, that they've created nowadays that's between an introvert and extrovert.
Yeah, it's something on a spectrum. No, I think it's just easy to kind of fall into the background and not be noticeable. I mean,
sure.
And I know what you mean by the small town, but I think even if you're in an area where there aren't that many people, it's easier to stand out or to be noticed. Where, like I said, in New York, it's very easy, or even in Korea, especially in Japan, it's very easy to just, I mean, maybe not you, because if you're in Japan, you're going to kind of stand out because of your height. But I just think overall, it's just one of those things. It's kind of easy to fade into the background in some of those places. Mm-hmm. It's very easy to just not to be noticed. And I kind of like that.
I think you're an ambivert. So I looked this up right now.
Would you look it up? Would you?
Ambivert is someone who falls between being an extrovert, outgoing, energized by social interaction, and introvert, reserved, energized by solitude. Here's your key traits. Here's the key traits. Here's the key traits. Balanced energy. Sometimes they thrive in social situations. Other times they prefer quiet and alone time. Adaptable. Can switch depending on the environment, people, or mood. situational comfort, comfortable speaking in groups when needed, but also enjoy reflection and independence. And middle ground, not extremely outgoing all the time, but not withdrawn either.
I guess that can be pretty fairly accurate.
You're an ambivert. There we go.
Ambivert.
I'm a fucking straight, energized by solitude and reserved introvert. That is me.
Whatever. You're way more social than I am when it comes to it.
Who are you talking about? Are you talking about work?
I mean overall, because here's the thing. The one thing I am horrible at, and maybe this, maybe actually this isn't really truly related to it, but like maintaining relationships and reaching out and staying in contact with people, I am absolutely horrible with. You still keep in contact with, not more
That's
so
a
than
memory issue, dude. You even remember most of the people, right? I mean, let's be honest.
I remember you.
We talk every fucking week, dude. We've been to each other's
I don't
lives.
remember. I don't remember you. I remember your children, and by consequence, I remember you.
There
shit, that's right. Their father.
Yeah, that's fine. Still, remembrance by association. That's all that matters.
There you go. That's actually pretty good. That I actually had that memory to remember an association.
Sure. There you go. If that's truly what it is, I doubt it, but there you go. But yeah, it's funny because you mentioned where you'd love to, and I've actually thought about that. Like New York City, I enjoy visiting New York City. I really do, because it's a completely different atmosphere than everywhere else I go. In the sense of I can literally walk the city streets from,
like you said, until 3 a.m. I've done it. Yeah. I've been out until 3 a.m. and it doesn't feel that different at 3. Like there's definitely a drop off, right, of people, but after that drop off happens at around 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, it seems like it's just constant.
I mean, you just walk for blocks and you can get to wherever you want to. I've done it. I've spent hours just wandering blocks.
100%.
And it's fine. I actually don't feel like I don't mind walking in general. So that's why it's enjoyable. Similar to yourself. But yeah, I enjoy going to the city. And sure, there have been maybe a couple of times I'm like, oh, this might be too bad. But then I realize, fuck no. You know what? I don't want to live in a massive city. Many reasons. One, I just don't want to be around that many people constantly on a daily basis. And to your point, the weather fluctuation. That's probably not just me. I mean, I'm just not a big. Now, if someone paid me a shitload of money to move out there, okay, I'll do it. I wouldn't say no. But if I have a choice, like for me, obviously, the most ideal state is to be in Hawaii, North Shore, someplace quiet, where I can just, wander around, not really worry about people. They don't worry about me.
It's odd because I would think that I would want that. Like for years, similar to that, I wanted the farm, the property, the not having a complete working farm, but having
maybe little goats, horse,
like that,
mini horse,
chickens, rabbits, things like that. Just having that open space, like having dirt bike and maybe even possibly a horse or something like that. I always thought that that's what I wanted. For years I did, until, and I think you kind of brought it up earlier, it's sometimes until you actually experience something, you don't know if you like it or not.
Right.
Like when I got hooked on travel the first time was going to India. This wasn't that long ago. I mean, it was really my first international trip was only 6 years ago. It was right before the pandemic, and I went to India for work. But I stopped over in Singapore and Hong Kong as long layovers. And when I was doing it, my boss at the time, she said, "No, take an extra few days and stay out there." So I was out in India for a week, but I did 5 days in between Hong Kong and Singapore. And it's my first time doing international. And I didn't. And the thing is, if you don't really know what you're doing, it can be a little bit scary, right? But and I didn't really know how to research well back then. But when I first did it, it was just this eye-opening type thing. Holy shit, this is awesome! Just experiencing. Again, you've done international. It's just one of those things where it's just major experience. It changed my whole perspective. And ever since then, even though I wouldn't mind to have the quote unquote farm, it's not, I think if I had the lottery, I would do that, but I would still want to live in a New York. And again, if I had that $5 million win, right, with $5 million in the bank tomorrow. I probably would have some property by myself, right, to have that. But I probably would still want to have a place in New York and one in Seoul or something like that, to do that type of thing, to split my time. Like probably based around like you said, based around the weather. Like being in New York or Seoul right now when the weather's perfect, but sure, avoiding, those 5 months out of the year where it's too hot and too cold.
Yeah.
Because, Tokyo and Seoul both have New York weather. So
fair enough.
Yeah, it's just funny how you change with that. But I think I think my biggest thing is that I can't believe, I think the pandemic changed me on this one, is how much I've changed when it comes to driving. I do not like, I like driving when it's just driving on open road. But my tolerance to traffic is fucking, and look, for anybody that doesn't know this, I've done major commutes for my whole life. I've commuted, I've done the math, and I've commuted almost 300,000 miles my lifetime on a motorcycle. And that's not even counting a car. I was going between where I live in the Northeast Bay, whatever it's called, and where I live right now, to San Jose, Sunnyvale area, which is, even without traffic, is over an hour. So I've had major commutes on it, but my tolerance after the pandemic to commuting in a car, like right now, I commute 20 minutes to get to BART, and I fucking hate it. It's just, but I cannot. And that's also one of the things about a New York, a Seoul, Tokyo, whatever, of being in the city, is you can walk downstairs, you can go to within a 15-minute walk, you can go to 20 different coffee places, you can go to 30 different restaurants. And the other thing about restaurants in cities is that for the most part, they're all good. I mean, you're going to find a place that's shitty, but when you go to places like in New York or whatever, places that aren't good don't last. The really cheap ones will, like, because they're just getting by on price. But for the most part, though, like when I've been in Tokyo or in a lot of Asian countries, because of the sheer amount of restaurants and because they're inexpensive, I rarely had a place that wasn't good. Maybe not great, but at least good. And I think that's like one of the things. It's like being able to go out, walk around, and never have to use a car again is like a dream of mine. Have a car if I needed to, like rent a car or whatever, like it would be the circumstance. But as much as I do like driving and it's therapeutic for me, I just can't. I think my tolerance level anymore to dealing with traffic is just zero.
I don't know if that's the pandemic or age.
I think
that's age. I mean, it just wore on you over time, like decades of dealing with that.
I think the pandemic, what it did is showed me what life was like without traffic, because, for how long, sure, even when you did drive during the pandemic, roads, like we weren't hitting traffic like we were before. And I think it's one of those things, like I just noticed, I'm like, okay, I hate traffic. Like before, I think it was just a tolerance. Like I just dealt with it because I had to. Now I'm like, wait, there's life without traffic? This is fucking crazy.
Yeah, I think I hit that tolerance way before you did. Clearly, because I moved out of the fucking state. One of the many reasons was primarily because the traffic pre-pandemic was just fucking stupid. And I lived much, in a sense, closer. I was only traveling to Mountain View from Daly City every day. And it, on minimum, could take an hour and a half there. Mm-hmm. And then depending on if Caltrain crashed, which 9 times out of 10, some stupid idiot would jump in front and kill somebody, or the train would kill somebody, or the a car would go in front. So the Caltrain's no longer available, so now everybody needs to jump in their cars to get places. I mean, it was just pointless. I mean, I realized a long time ago, why am I doing this? This is pointless. This makes no sense for me to be driving and spending, to your point, for you, like 3 hours a day sitting in a fucking car. For what? I mean, it was great in a sense because if I listened to sports talk, I could hear a lot of fucking sports talk. There we go. And when I was working at Pandora and I had to commute to Oakland, I had to take BART all the time, which was also another problem whenever the fucking tunnel would back up because they stalled a train in there somewhere and you're waiting forever. I finished a lot of books. But in that case, that was less irritating for me. Primarily because I wasn't driving. but
it's
the
still a
length of time is just a time suck, and it was horrible.
I got to get back into reading books. Actually, maybe that's a good topic for when we get back. I want to actually bring a book with me on the plane. I realize.
Let's talk about books real quick. Actually, let's segue into that
because
I think we've talked about books.
I think it is because one of the things I noticed that I have fallen into more so over the last probably year plus is way too much short form, like TikTok, Reels.
All
that type of stuff. This short form stuff, and also you get not only is it short form, so my attention span is already fucking horrible as it is, but I think it's made that whole dopamine reaction that you get for watching these things even worse. Also, the information you get there, there are a few sources that I'll follow for things like one of them that I think is a really good one is there's a couple on I think they're across a lot of social media, but they're mainly on TikTok. But they're a husband-wife lawyer combination. They're Harvard ones, and they go over a lot of these things that pop up, and they do their interpretation of it purely from a legal standpoint, like not emotion, not bias or anything. It is very it was like they were just like the one I just saw them do was talking about Trump's comments on Tylenol, about people saying, "Oh, Tylenol should sue him," right? Where Tylenol should sue him, and they're like, they can't. And this is the reason why. And it's not a matter of should they be able to, was he right? Was he wrong? But they only go over the legal aspect. And there's also some stuff on health and fitness of people that I follow, but like that type of stuff is great. But how much stuff do you hear in between? And I think one of the harmful things is you hear this information come to you, and whether you believe it or not, it still kind of sits in the back of your mind. You know what I mean? But the point is that I think that I'm really too stuck on short term, and it's becoming to the point where my attention span when I try to watch long form is worse than it's ever been. Usually I could follow long form stuff if I was interested in it. It was only the stuff that I wasn't interested in that I had to watch that I would be like, fuck, I'm not following this. But now I would have a hard time watching things that I'm interested in. And so it's I think it's a habit that I need to change. And so part of it is I've been looking at wondering about there's those lists of 50 books every man should read.
No.
Yeah. So they have this list of 50 books every man should read, right? Or 50 books everybody should read, or these lists of books that you should go through and read all of these ones. So I was thinking about doing one of those lists.
There you go.
Just as a start point, because I don't know if I have. I think the thing is I know that there's some books I've read in the past or whatever, or some things I'd be interested in reading, but I'm I kind of want something that I probably normally wouldn't read. But I actually want to get back.
You just pointed out what's going to be a common issue in another 10 years, which is the loss of vocabulary. There is no distinct vocabulary anymore. It's getting worse and worse. They're short forming. We've talked about this before. I always kid around.
Yeah.
We're regressing in all forms. We've gone to hieroglyphics because emojis are hieroglyphics, basically. You have to understand what the emoji stands for to understand its purpose in a conversation, which is what the Egyptians did with hieroglyphics back in the day. Birds, fucking wavy lines, the eye of Ra, all this shit.
Even now, one of the dumb things is how different generations are changing interpretations. Do you know a thumbs up is actually being flipped off to supposedly Gen Z? Because
that's fine. Right, then
my impression is that they're doing it like that. Okay, remember that one with Nicolas Cage and it's sarcasm.
Yeah, it's a sarcastic thumbs up, and I guess it makes sense, but that's interpretation. To your point, right? They're going to interpret it one way. It doesn't matter. They also come up with new terms that make no sense either. That nobody in Gen X or even living boomers.
But that's every year. That's every generation.
Yeah, but my point is knowledge is being lost because the vocabulary is getting worse and worse. And this ties back to books. The more books you read, they're going to expand your vocabulary. They're also going to help with your memory because it's going to be recalling a lot of words you probably weren't even thinking about back in the time. Especially short form doesn't recall shit. It's always the same stupid stuff because so many trends. Most of them are trends. They're just pointless information. But think about this. From our standpoint, we had to learn handwriting. Now, today's kids still learn, I think, cursive letters, but they don't learn handwriting.
They don't practice it.
No, and they only do it for 1 year and they're done. It's why even have it then if you're not going to enforce it? So nobody today, definitely no Gen Z, even millennials probably have a tough time reading anything that was handwritten from like, I don't know, the 1800s, early 1900s, hell, even the 1950s, because they can't. They just can't do it. Well, so it's a foreign language to them.
Also, now it's like, when we had to read Shakespeare, there was remember when you read Shakespeare, there was the left panel had Shakespeare, but then there was a right panel that says, here's what he meant to say. Because of course, as language evolves, but that was because there was a 500-year fucking gap.
Sure.
Where nowadays it's like there's a 50-year gap and people don't understand what was being said in something like
even a 25-year gap.
Catcher in the Rye,
25-year gap. It's the same problem. But so like things like being able to do cursive writing, which is a beautiful form of writing, actually. You look at it, it was always utilized back in the day, 1800, 1700, look at all the historical documents. Obviously, the Constitution is written in cursive as well. I mean, all these things are written in some form to make it, just elegant, I guess. So it was an elegant time where you spent more time really thinking through and putting more care into what you do.
Right.
Nowadays, nobody cares. I mean, that's true even for, when you talk shit, you could only talk shit to people in front of you because there was no like TVs that you could, or computers back then that you could make comments about. You could still talk shit behind people's back, but you couldn't like print it somewhere and post it and do all that stuff like you do today, or get involved in a much larger conversation and make comments and hide behind usernames and whatnot. All that's just encouraging stupidity even more and more.
Think about all the phrases that we grew up with. If you have nothing nice to say, if you're going to say it to my face. All these things were the opposite of where people are today when it comes to that shit. I mean, it's like total opposite, like sticks and stones, where there's also the thing of clapping back. I mean, just the opposite of that, where people will like, even in the early days of the internet with us, it was don't feed the trolls, right? There's all those things. Now that in the last 15 years, 10 to 15 years, has gone completely out the window, where there's flame wars. People will say horrific things to people online. I mean, horrible things. And they're emboldened by it. And then again, there's also just the idea of like the cancel culture is part of that, where I think it's crazy that, I mean, I agree with there's certain people that like, look, if you're a pedophile, fuck you. You deserve to die. Right. I mean, there's certain people that
that's not cancel culture. That's just the law.
I know. Well, that's what I mean. No. Well,
not about dying, but if you're a pedophile, the law is going to make.
But yeah, I like a pedophile, like or a convicted rapist. They can be hung, but people will say something stupid. I mean, honestly, people say something and you're like, yeah, you probably shouldn't have said that. You said it out of anger, like you had one moment of this, and people are losing their jobs over something that I think is maybe not good to say or right to say on either way, but I mean, kind of destroying their future or their livelihood, to me, is a lot of times a little extreme. But people feel emboldened to do that because, again, they're not seeing the consequences of their actions, either positive or negative, or whether you feel justified or not. They're just simply going over being able to attack somebody because it's easy to do it over a computer, even if it's not anonymous, even if you have your name to it. It's easy to type something in, except there's a major difference. And it's funny, everybody always says this, oh, I'll say it to their face. No, I'm sorry, but 95% of people would never say to somebody's face what they say online, even if your name's attached, not even anonymous. I like on Facebook, people will say that openly, but actually into somebody's face, you see it all the time when they do things like, oh, I would step in and do this, or I would do that. Like they show time and time again the social experiments where people don't step in to do it. So there's this delusion that people have, but yeah, being the short form, the comment sections have really deteriorated quality of human communication and interactions. There's a lot of powerful, there's a lot of good for it, but there's just like with most things, you rarely ever get something that's only good. I think that the bad of it is actually becoming worse than the positives that it gives.
Yeah, I mean, playing devil's advocate. Let's think about this for a second. Prior to internet, online chat forums and all this other good shit and social. When news would come out about something or you'd hear about someone, pretty easily people would be talking shit and there'd be disagreements at the water, cooler or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it was always kept within the small group. It never scaled out. So even your personal opinions or whatnot probably were within earshot, which is probably like 4 or 5 people. And if you did a job and, it was some negative thought about someone else, you probably were fired. But that was it. Everything was left and it was very limited. So the feelings and the thoughts haven't changed in probably hundreds of years, to be honest with you. There's no difference. Right. The difference is that now we're just fanning the flames by the whole concept about, America needs to be more united. We're more divided than ever before. Well, we're more divided because you can see we're more divided. We've always been divided, but at least there was some sense of belief that we could be more united because you didn't have to see all the shit being thrown out there. Now you're seeing all stuff, and we're encouraging it because we're either allowing comments to be made. Every time if I read an article and then I see that they have comments below, almost always it's political bullshit, stupid stuff. And then they just start flaming each other. But it's always like 20 or 30 people. And to me, that's like, oh, okay. I don't give a shit.
It's a small sample. Yeah.
Exactly. But they operate against small samples. Companies today now respond to small samples. We've talked about this before, so I'm not going to hash on that part. What I'm just saying is that, to your point, like short form videos, reels, TikToks, whatever, their own personal opinions, and then each one kind of, like the minute you put yourself, like even here on the podcast, technically we're putting ourselves out there to be yelled at and ripped on if we want to, which I'd be okay with personally. These people are listening. I don't really care. But that's the reality, is that now the opportunity for people to become more involved in this larger community of, giving their opinions or comments, the Jimmy Kimmel stuff, things like that. It's just too easy. So now you see it at a much larger scale, but it always existed. It's just it was more contained, and it probably flamed out fast. Versus now it can linger for months because of this shit.
I think the major reason for that, and the major difference between today and 20, 30 years ago, is that one of the aspects of social media is that you're going to keep on seeing things that are in your interest, right? So like, ponds or motorcycles for me, you're not going to see it, but I will, because I've showed interest in it. I've interacted with it. On the political side, though, what people do is they keep on getting this reinforcement that they're right. That, 75% of my feed is exactly how I think on the politics side, right? And it reinforces it. It just keeps on ingraining into it that I'm right, I'm right, I'm right. And I think that it part of the polarizing thing is that because of that feeling that you're right, you feel more passionate.
Well, validates what you're thinking. So now you think what you're thinking is more accurate than what others are thinking.
Right. Because before, like you said, at the water cooler thing, it just wasn't a small sample of people. You may have 6 people at the water cooler, right? Well, everybody's going to have a little bit of different opinion.
Right.
And you sat there and you realize that my opinion isn't the only one out there. Where nowadays, because you get into these bubbles, your opinion gets reinforced. So you think I'm right. If all these people agree with me, like you said, there's a small sample size, but when that's all you see, you exaggerate that small sample size. So even though you may follow 20 people, that becomes all you see on your feed. And it just reinforces this whole thing that I'm right, I'm right. But the thing is, it made it to the point where I think people look at it to the point where, because they can't see that other people will have an opinion on something, like Jimmy Kimmel thing. I'm sorry, Jimmy Kimmel's a piece of shit. I've never liked him. If you look back at when he was on the Man Show, to me, he's like an Alec Baldwin, who sometimes I think people like him and Alec Baldwin go after Trump overcompensating because they don't like him, because they kind of see a reflection of him. It's almost like, shit, I don't want you to see what I used to do. Jimmy Kimmel did blackface. He was, on that show, he was very, very sexist. Like,
it's called The Man Show, by the way.
Exactly. And it's whatever you think of the stereotype of it, he did it all. And even you can see how he does things now. He's very condescending. I just don't like him in general, from what I see.
Fine. Yeah. But But you don't agree that he should have been pulled off.
I don't agree that he should have been pulled off, but I also don't. But what I don't like is that people make him out to be a martyr. Like his ratings have been going down and all this other stuff. There are a lot of reasons why pulling him off, like there was really no fight to not pull him off. But people have fought to keep him on more as, well, we don't like Trump. And I'm like, two things.
So interesting. I like your take. I like where you're going with this because that's
two things can be true at the same time. That's my main point.
So my biggest concern, period, is that the fact that the FCC, which is controlled by Trump,
100%.
guy, makes a threat against a business. That business reacts because of what Jimmy Kimmel said. Okay, first and foremost, we know that's true. That threat came against Jimmy Kimmel because of the comments made. And a business, in this case, specifically Disney, pulled him. Now, they pulled him and said he's indefinitely off, but they didn't say he was gone or gone for good. Of course, public outcry because that's a response to a First Amendment type scenario, which is he has the right to say what he wants, which is true. Yeah. He does. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, the way I looked at it is, and I totally disagreed with him being pulled in general, but I also understood the business side. The business side is this. It's a balance effort. It's a no-win situation. You don't want to pull him because you want to maintain it. But at the same time, you're now about to be threatened to lose all these affiliates, which is where you send all your, you broadcast all your media to. You also have to worry about potential advertiser impact to the business. And I laughed when people started pointing out, look, we made a difference. Look at Disney stock. If you'd looked historically at Disney stock over the last year,
right,
they've been up and down. That was nothing new. That had no real impact. But it made them feel better about themselves on that case. But regardless,
that happens all the time.
Jimmy Kimmel or not, ratings or not, because nighttime shows have been dying in general. They're just dying because it's just a hard medium to stay up for. Most people don't watch it unless they do like quick.
Right. It's why, what's his name? Not Kimmel. What's his name?
Colbert.
Colbert.
Colbert was, no, not really. If you look at that realistically, that wasn't why he was pulled. He was pulled because the threat or the money that got paid to Trump, whatnot, he called out CBS for being basically a bunch of bitches for rolling over and giving it. And then they realized, that's fine. And to your point, yes, there's some truth. It was the ratings weren't there, but they wouldn't have looked at it had that not come up. They would have probably kept it going because the purpose of having late night is just to have late night, whether or not it's revenue generating.
But I look at it this way for like a Colbert is that it's one of those things where you don't know. I mean, he could have been on the cusp like, he's doing this, but all of a sudden, his ratings may not be that great, but we'll keep him on. But now he's actually calling us out. Why are we keeping him? Like if
that's my point. They wouldn't have looked.
They would tolerate.
That's my point. Right. Yeah, they wouldn't have looked. It was definitely driven by that comment. Is my point.
Oh yeah. But I'm just saying that it's not just the comment that did it. Even like with the Kimmel thing, people want to say the FCC, but even before that, what people don't realize, there was a few hundred affiliates that said that they wanted him pulled,
but they never backed out.
The affiliates.
Yeah,
we're not going to air Kimmel.
Yeah, but they never stopped themselves from doing it. It was always empty threats. That's the catch.
Well,
it's always empty threats. So did they do it up until that point? Did they do it up until that point? No, but my point is, you just said they kept threatening. Did they do anything?
No, they did. Yes, they did.
When did they pull Jimmy Kimmel?
These affiliates pulled him.
When? You're talking about the ones that didn't put him back up recently?
No, when this first happened.
Yeah, you're talking about. So your comment was based more on that particular statement he made that got him eventually pulled by Disney.
Right.
Nexstar and the others.
This wasn't right.
Nexstar and one other. And you know why? Because they were trying to do a business joint.
Why?
They need the FCC support, and they were fearful, and so they said pull him. And now Nexstar and them have put him back on, and now he's across all his affiliates again.
Because he apologized.
It's not even about the apology. They just know that they needed to keep him on. But again, you're missing the bigger point, which I think brought up during the week. You mentioned it. It's a dying medium. Like no one really cares about late night much anymore. Jimmy Kimmel, Colbert, Seth Meyers, Jimmy Fallon, all of them.
In the past with Letterman and I guess that's what I'm also getting is I don't think that they have the power that it's just funny because nobody's watching these shows and all of a sudden he comes back on the air and his ratings jumps and they act like this.
Of course.
But watching a week, it's going to go back down. And then eventually he's going to get pulled because it's just not worth the money anymore.
And I guess that's what I'm getting at. I think they'll move it to streaming. Like if you move it to streaming, then you don't have to give a shit about the FCC anymore.
True.
FCC doesn't control that. So they basically, and that's been a big push that's been coming up this last week, is from, companies, major corporations or whatnot, insisting Disney should just move away from regular broadcasting and move it to streaming. Like Jimmy Kimmel should go to stream. And then you're also paying by advertisement. Then you can see more performance. Like if he can get advertisers to support his show, then he can continue running. If not, then he's gone. So
why? I mean, I guess that's a good question. Why do we? I mean, with the reach of the internet and everything, I mean, it's probably no different than when we went from radio to TV, right? People probably complain, right. Well, I have a radio. What do I need a TV for? Why is it better? Even though it's clearly better. Like, what is the point of having broadcast TV anymore? I mean, what's the difference? Like, what's the advantage of having broadcast TV?
Local news. That's it. Everything else I can see elsewhere.
There's sometimes some of that stuff that just, like that type of thing, or to me, the local station thing is like car dealerships. What do we need car dealerships for anymore? You should be able to go online, put a car together from the factory, say, I want this, this, and this. They give you the price, you buy it, you go to a place, you inspect it, you pick it up, and you leave with it.
I think that's a different debate we can get into. I mean, yes, you're not wrong. And
then everyone, then you can have, official or authorized service centers, right? If you want to do that, or ones that are, certified by a dealer to do dealer work. But like, to me, like that whole thing of affiliates and everything like that, again, they should just move to streaming as well. Why? I mean, they already do it. Why do they need to do both? Like, what's the advantage right now? Because again, like all your local stations have streaming services and their own websites, right?
Yeah, their websites suck. But yeah,
they usually do.
They're usually those stations are a conglomerate from a major corporation, right?
But how much better could they be if they just stopped with the broadcasting bullshit and just went to online only?
How much more freer could they be? Yeah, as far as
exactly about how restricted are they for having these things that are ingrained in a medium that, honestly, like, how much broadcast TV do you actually watch? Like sitting down watching, aside from sports. Sports is the only caveat right now that I have, is sitting down watching anything that would be considered broadcast is sports related.
Sure,
we get to sit and watch and wait for a commercial, da da da. And I'm not saying the streaming side, don't even get me started on the sports streaming side where, like, I spend how much money every year on NFL Sunday Ticket, yet there are chances that I might not be able to see the Browns play, even though I pay extra to watch everything. Like if they're on, like, what was that? Paramount?
Amazon? I mean, when they're playing on non-traditional Sunday games.
Yes. But I mean, I know that's a caveat, but it's like one of those things. It's like, so they basically will say it like the caveat that they put in is saying you get every Sunday game.
Correct.
Okay. They make it sound like
that's right.
You're right. And technically you're right, but it's just, but again, so that's like one of the downsides of it, of course. But to me, it's like, I just don't see the point of broadcast TV anymore. And I know people are going to say, well, some people don't have good internet connection or whatever. It's like, okay, fine. People used to say the same thing about radio. You can get a radio signal way farther away than you can a TV signal. At a certain point,
TV used to be free.
Yeah,
it was broadcast over antennas, over the air broadcasting, and every channel you got was free. You just had to have a TV.
And it was purely advertising that
and to pay for cable. Then cable came along. We're going to offer you 50 channels instead of the 7 or 10 you might get.
But again, I think the thing that I'm saying is that there's always an option when these new things come up. Like, yeah, you had broadcast, you had cable. You didn't have to have cable. If you wanted more options, more features, you got cable.
Right.
I think we're
on HBO.
Right.
That was the big seller back then for cable when it first came out, was HBO.
And for our generation, it was MTV and some of these other stations that you could find. Even just seeing things like TBS, things like that, just stupid little things. It's like, oh, this is cool. I can see more than I normally could see. Because like growing up, I could never watch the Browns play. I only watched the 49ers play. You know, it was just how it was. Like I only watched the Browns game when they were on a Monday night football game at your house.
Well,
and they went by a field goal, and then I break a lamp or the light.
That wasn't even them playing the Niners. That was them playing like Detroit or some shit like that. It was a Thursday night game.
Monday night game, something like that. It was a weekday night game. Anyway.
Interestingly enough, you bring that up. So when you didn't watch them in the 80s because you couldn't, they were a successful organization. And then you started focusing more on them and could have access to them, they suck. So we've learned something, if nothing else, today, people. Not only is it his brother being born that's caused a lot of this.
Being born. Think about it. There was a lot of
interested has caused the problem for the Browns. For those,
think about it. In the 80s, in the 70s, we had Red Right 88. We're losing the playoff game to the Raiders. Then there was a fumble to drive. So now there was still all that shit happening.
But they were more successful. They were actually a team considered a Super Bowl favorite. When was the last time you could say they were considered a Super Bowl favorite?
Contender.
All right, Super Bowl contender. Because until you get to the Super Bowl, you're not the favorite.
Right.
So
whatever.
Well, anyway, good point. I mean, you're not wrong, right? Like everything over time. Do we need broadcast television anymore? Do we need cable services?
I don't think we need.
Probably not. I mean, and numbers would show that most data or content, that customers consume are going to be through their phones, and it's going to be on more social platforms than anything else, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Yeah, I mean that's just the reality of it. And so if all the content's being, well, I was going to say, if all the content's being pulled there, then yeah, you're right. What's the point of having that other other opportunities other than if you want to see local news? And then you're right, if you can follow it on they have an app or a web. Well, it have to be an app. Nobody wants to operate on websites anymore. They want to operate on an app.
Because you can track a lot better.
No, I'm talking about users don't want to go to a website on a phone.
Even users.
You want an app.
But I mean, the one problem that's coming up that I'm seeing is that, and it's again, it's like catch-22, is that you have a broader scope of information coming in. You're getting more so than what 2 or 3 news sources are going to give you. And especially the news sources now, they give such a narrow biased view. It's unwatchable. Like CNN, Fox.
Yeah, I mean, it's like 10 people standing around a water cooler, all with their own opinion, throwing it at you. And some have tidbits you believe and follow along with, so you start to listen to them a little bit more and you ignore the others. But all of them could be fucking wrong.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, yeah, you get a lot of this information. People say, I get so much more information from TikTok or Reels. But I'm like, yeah, but how much of it is actually factual? Like, the thing is, I think people still are in the mindset that if it's in a medium like video or print, that it has to be fact. Like, I think people on the internet, when it comes to some of these news sources that they get, these independent ones, I'm getting so much good information. It's like, are you actually getting information, or are you being told what you already want to hear? You're getting that confirmation bias, and you just take it as, like I said, people will say things, find out that it's false, but then they'll say something like, yeah, but I can believe it to be true. It's like, like something like Kimmel said this or that. And it's like, no, that's actually not what he said. What he said was this, but people are like, yeah, but like, I don't like Kimmel, but it's like, when you heard what he actually said, it's like, okay, it wasn't as bad as some of the reports that I heard. Right? Because people will say things, but then when you actually hear it, but I know that the people will say, yeah, but I can hear him saying that. Oh, I'm sure he said that some other times. Like, that's irrelevant. You're just ignoring facts and just saying that, well, I want to believe this, so I'm going to.
Right.
And that's what scares me, is that, like I said, I know that I'm not a fan of Kimmel. I never have been, even well before this. And there is going to be some bias against him that I have. But I'm not going to say that, oh, well, I don't, I wouldn't be surprised if he said it. It may be true. I may actually think that in the back of my head, but I'm not going to hold it against him, or hopefully have it actually influence me if he never actually did.
Right. Well, I mean, we're coming up on time, but I will say this. I mean, when we always talk about free speech, we've said this before, it's interpretation. Democrats will say you're violating free speech, or they're doing things that violate what Republicans would feel free speech, and vice versa. So,
and vice versa.
It's always about what works best for their political motives. Yep. And that's really all that matters for them. Mm-hmm. They don't really care about what the person said. It's more of how can I take advantage and utilize it. So,
and both sides do it, and both sides do it.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, this is it for the episode for the next 2 weeks, at least with Len. So I will probably start my own for the next couple weeks. Keep a short.
I'll have to listen. I'll double the listen count and make sure I listen.
That'll be fantastic. I'll keep it short, probably 30 minutes. I don't need a full hour to discuss stuff. So
to ramble.
Once again, appreciate everybody listening. As always, subscribe. We're on all formats: iHeart, Spotify, and others. So if you want to grab us there, you can. And thanks again for listening. And we'll be back with Len in 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Yep.
All right. Everybody have a great time, and we'll catch you then.
See ya.